If you look at the average American homeowner today, they are sitting on roughly $420,000 in savings and assets.
Yeah, which is just a massive number.
Right. And then you look at the average renter, and it's just about $10,000.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a gap.
It's insane. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at this $410,000 chasm in American wealth.
And more importantly, the quiet mechanics that actually create it.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this because a $410,000 difference is not just, a slight gap.
No, not at all.
That is a completely different universe of financial security.
Yeah.
I mean, we aren't talking about a few extra $1,000 for a nice vacation here.
Right, you're talking about fundamental life choices.
Yeah, we are talking about a number that fundamentally dictates when you can retire, the kind of medical care you can afford later in life.
Or even just the generational wealth you can pass down.
Totally. So, to figure out how this happens, we are unpacking a really eye-opening brief called The Silent Architecture of Homeowner Wealth, alongside some incredibly revealing data from the National Association of Realtors.
What's fascinating here is that this massive wealth gap wasn't created by flashy financial maneuvers.
Like day trading or something.
Right, exactly. No high-frequency trading algorithms or massive corporate buyouts.
Yeah.
When you look at the underlying data, the accumulation of that $500,000 is driven by a system that is, well, entirely ordinary.
And almost completely invisible to the people benefiting from it, right?
Exactly. It just runs in the background.
Which is wild because the instinct, especially if you are, sitting there with 10 grand in the bank looking at someone with nearly $500,000, is to assume they have some big secret.
Oh, totally. We culturally equate massive wealth with high-stakes moves.
Yeah, we picture the trading floor, right? Or the perfectly timed stock options, the Wolf of Wall Street level of financial acumen.
We assume these homeowners somehow knew exactly when the housing market was at its absolute bottom.
Right, like they swooped in, took this massive calculated risk, and are just reaping the rewards of their genius foresight.
Yeah, we assume it requires active genius, but the formula for the vast majority of these homeowners is remarkably mundane.
Mundane how?
Well, the data reveals they didn't perfectly time the market. I mean, they didn't buy at the absolute bottom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They simply bought a home, made regular monthly payments, and stayed put.
But wait, didn't a lot of these people benefit from an incredible run-up in the market?
Well, sure, some did.
Because if you bought a house right after the 2008 crash, yeah, you look like a genius today.
Right, of course.
But what about the people who bought at the peak, right before a crash? Just staying put sounds a little bit like survivorship bias.
That's a fair point.
If you bought at the wrong time, staying put just means you're stuck, doesn't it?
Timing certainly dictates the immediate trajectory of your equity in those first few years. I mean, nobody wants to buy at the peak.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
But the longer the timeline stretches, the more that initial timing gets smoothed out by the structural mechanics of the mortgage itself.
Okay, so it recovers.
Right. The research shows that wealth creation in real estate isn't about avoiding market dips entirely. It's about holding the asset long enough for the underlying financial architecture to do its work.
Like the old saying goes, right? Time in the market rather than timing the market.
Exactly. It's consistency over everything.
So if you're listening to this and feeling like, you missed the boat because you didn't buy a house at the absolute perfect time, that should actually be a massive relief.
Oh, absolutely.
It means you don't need a crystal ball to secure a financial advantage. You just need consistency.
Consistency is the primary catalyst. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. You go to your job, you watch television in your living room, you just live your life. And the wealth quietly accumulates in the walls around you simply because you are participating in the system.
Okay, let's get into the actual mechanics of that system, though.
Sure.
Because just living in a house sounds a little too passive to generate $400,000. How does the house actually do the heavy lifting?
Well, it comes down to two distinct engines running simultaneously behind the scenes.
Okay, two engines. What's the first one?
The first engine is principal paydown. Every single month when a homeowner makes a mortgage payment, a portion of that money goes toward the interest of the loan.
Right, paying the bank.
Yeah. But a portion also goes toward reducing the actual balance of the loan itself. It functions as a forced savings mechanism.
Forced savings. That makes sense.
Right. Because when you rent, 100% of your housing payment goes to the landlord.
Yeah, it's just gone.
But when you own, a fraction of that payment It's effectively being deposited back into your own net worth by shrinking your debt.
I have to challenge that a bit, though.
Okay, go for it.
If we look at the reality of a standard 30-year mortgage, in those first, 5 to 7 years, the vast majority of your monthly payment goes straight to the bank as interest.
Oh, for sure.
You're barely chipping away at the principal at all. It feels less like a wealth-building engine and more like, I don't know, throwing money into a furnace just for the privilege of holding the keys.
Yeah, the early years can be brutal.
So how does that build any real momentum?
You are touching on the amortization schedule, which is indeed heavily front-loaded with interest.
Heavily.
In year one, it absolutely feels like a furnace.
Mm.
But it's an engine that gains efficiency over time
How so?
because the interest is calculated on the remaining balance of the loan. Every tiny chip you make at the principal slightly reduces the interest portion of the next month's payment.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so by year 10, the ratio shifts significantly. You are quietly, automatically transferring more and more wealth from your monthly cash flow right into your permanent net worth.
And you aren't changing your behavior at all to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The debt shrinks automatically.
Okay, so the debt shrinks automatically. And then you have the second engine, which is appreciation.
Right. Historically, the value of the physical asset itself grows over time.
So the gap between what you owe on the mortgage and what the house is worth in the open market widens from both ends simultaneously.
You've got it. It's a dual action effect.
But wait, even with a shrinking debt and steady appreciation, say the market goes up, what, 3 or 4% a year?
Sure, 3 or 4% is typical.
That still doesn't mathematically explain a $410,000 gap compared to someone who just puts their cash in, like, an index fund.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the explanation for that explosive growth rests entirely on one financial concept.
Which is?
Leverage. Leverage is the ability to control a massive appreciating asset using a relatively small amount of your own capital.
Right.
This is the structural advantage that makes real estate entirely different from a standard savings account.
Can you walk us through the actual math of that? Because people hear the word leverage and they think of high finance corporate buyouts, not a 3-bedroom suburban house.
Oh, definitely.
So how does leverage mathematically create that huge chasm?
Let's use a concrete example to match it out. Imagine you buy a $400,000 house.
Okay. 400,000?
You don't pay $400,000 in cash.
God, no.
Right. You might put down 10%, which is $40,000. The bank loans you the remaining $360,000. So over the next few years, let's say the local market experiences a 10% increase in home values.
So the house is now worth $440,000.
Correct. The house gained $40,000 in value.
Okay.
But you didn't just make a 10% return on your money.
Right.
You invested $40,000 of your own cash, and you gained $40,000 in equity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is a 100% return on your initial cash investment, driven entirely by the appreciation of the bank's money.
That is wild. You are essentially using the bank's money as a magnifying glass for your own returns.
Exactly.
I mean, in a standard stock portfolio, if I put $40,000 in an index fund and it goes up 10%, I make $4,000.
Right, which is nice, but not life-changing.
But with real estate, the growth is magnified across the entire value of the asset, even the part I haven't paid for yet.
That is the multiplier effect of leverage. Your wealth grows based on the total value of the leveraged asset, not just the cash you injected into it.
But wait, if leverage acts as a magnifying glass for gains, doesn't it also magnify losses?
Oh, it absolutely does.
If I put down $40,000 on that $400,000 house and the market drops by 10%, the house is now worth $360,000.
Right.
Didn't I just lose 100% of my equity overnight? I mean, that seems incredibly risky.
You did lose that paper equity, and that introduces the two-way risk of leverage.
So it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, not at all. But this is exactly why the time horizon is the critical neutralizing factor.
Right.
If you are forced to sell in that exact moment, the leverage works against you, and you realize the loss.
But if you don't have to sell...
If you remember the reality check we discussed earlier, that these wealth builders simply stayed put. The temporary evaporation of paper equity doesn't destroy the underlying wealth engine.
Because you still own the house.
Exactly. As long as you stay in the home and continue making payments, the first engine principal paydown continues to run.
Right, you are still shrinking the debt.
Yeah, you're waiting for the market to recover and for the magnifying glass of leverage to swing back in your favor.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
When you run those two engines, the accelerating principal paydown and the standard appreciation, through that magnifying glass of leverage over a decade, the compounding effect is genuinely staggering.
It really is.
The National Association of Realtors data brings in a specific timeline to show this. According to their reports, people who bought a typical home 10 years ago gained wealth equal to approximately 3 times their annual income,
Yes.
simply through ownership and appreciation.
3 full years' worth of salary, generated completely passively by the structural reality of owning the asset.
I just think about the implication of that for a second. For many of these homeowners, the increase in their home's equity actually outpaced what they earned from working their day jobs during that same 10-year period.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
It is. You wake up early, you commute, you work 40, maybe 50 hours a week, you deal with the stress, you get the annual performance reviews, maybe you negotiate a slight raise.
The daily grind.
You do this grinding daily labor for a decade, and meanwhile, your house, a completely inanimate object, is sitting there in the sun, literally out-earning you.
It forces a profound shift in how we categorize a home, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
We naturally view a house as a utility. It is shelter, it is a place to raise a family, it is a line item in our monthly budget.
Right.
We don't wake up every day and view the ceiling as a financial instrument.
No, of course not.
But beneath the surface, because of the silent architecture of leverage and forced savings, it functions as one of the strongest wealth-generating foundations a family can possibly build.
I want to inject a necessary dose of reality into this, though.
Okay, play devil's advocate.
Equity isn't cash in your pocket. If all your wealth is trapped inside the drywall of your house, how is that actually useful to the homeowner?
That's a very common question.
You can't buy groceries with home equity. You can't pay for your kids' college tuition with a high home appraisal. Are these people actually wealthy, or are they just paper millionaires who still have to stress about the electricity bill every month?
That is a crucial distinction and a very common misconception about net worth. Paper wealth and liquid cash are entirely different things. However, holding robust equity changes the entire financial physics of a household, even if it isn't completely liquid today.
How so?
First, it provides a massive buffer against insolvency. If a medical crisis or job loss hits, that equity can be accessed through lines of credit at interest rates far lower than unsecured credit cards.
Oh, that's true. The HELOC.
Right. Second, it alters retirement trajectories. When homeowners eventually downsize, that heavily leveraged, often tax-advantaged capital becomes completely liquid.
Ah, so when you sell the big family house.
Exactly. It might not be grocery money today, but it is the ultimate safety net and retirement fund for tomorrow.
So it creates a foundational security that changes how you can operate in the present, even if you aren't spending the equity directly.
Precisely.
Let's talk about the economic weather, because real estate does not exist in a vacuum. Markets crash, interest rates spike, local economies cool down.
Oh, constantly.
The research brief uses regional markets, specifically Sarasota and the broader state of Florida, as a microcosm to look at how this plays out over long, turbulent periods.
Analyzing a specific, volatile region grounds the data in reality. Florida is a perfect stress test because it has notoriously intense boom and bust cycles.
It really does.
By looking at that specific region, we can see the interaction of 3 specific dynamics: multiple market cycles, long-term appreciation trends, and limited inventory.
So what actually happens to the homeowner in Sarasota who just sits tight, continuing to pay their mortgage while the market goes through these roller coaster drops and spikes outside their window?
Let's isolate the first dynamic, multiple market cycles. When a local market drops, as we discussed, the paper wealth evaporates.
Right.
But the forced savings engine ignores the weather. Even during a steep recession, if the homeowner keeps making that monthly payment, the principal balance of the loan continues to shrink.
Oh, I see.
The debt reduction mechanism is entirely insulated from the market volatility.
Sure. So the value of the asset might plummet, but the size of the loan is dropping right alongside it.
Exactly. Now introduce the dynamic of limited inventory. In highly desirable, geographically constrained areas like Sarasota, you have hard limits on development.
Right, you're boxed in by the water.
You cannot simply build an infinite number of houses on a finite coastline. When you have restricted supply, but steady, migration-driven demand, It creates a floor in the market,
It limits how far prices can fall during a bust.
and it acts as a powerful catapult during a boom.
So when the economic storm eventually clears, the appreciation engine kicks back in, but it's being fueled by intense scarcity.
Yes, and because of the leverage we outlined earlier, when that scarcity drives the price back up past its previous peak, the gains are exponential.
Wow.
Homeowners who simply weathered the storm, who didn't panic sell at the bottom, who let the forced savings engine run in the background for years, and who benefited from inventory constraints driving the eventual rebound, emerged on the other side with a massive stockpile of equity.
But the real danger of this silent architecture is that it's almost too quiet, isn't it?
What do you mean?
The research points out that a lot of these homeowners operate with an entirely outdated understanding of their own net worth.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the wealth was built slowly, over a decade of just paying the bills and living their lives, they are totally unaware of how strong their current position actually is.
It creates a psychological lag. The beneficiaries of this system often still judge their financial security by the balance in their checking account or the size of their biweekly paycheck.
Completely ignoring the hundreds of thousands of dollars locked in their equity.
Right. For homeowners who bought years ago and rode out the cycles, their leveraged position today is often astronomically stronger than they realized.
So what does this all mean? We started out looking at a staggering $410,000 wealth gap between the average homeowner and the average renter.
Yes, we did.
And we've seen that this chasm wasn't dug by frantic day trading or genius-level market timing. It was built by the slow, relentless mechanics of paying down principal.
And riding long-term appreciation fueled by limited inventory.
Right. And utilizing the mathematical magnifier of leverage.
It's incredible.
It's the story of a passive asset doing the heavy lifting, weathering market cycles, and accumulating wealth so stealthily that the owners themselves often don't even realize how wealthy they have become.
This raises an important question for anyone listening who currently owns a home. Are you making life and financial decisions today based on what you think your position is, or on the actual leveraged reality of your hidden equity?
That's a great question.
The core recommendation from the research is to conduct a professional equity review. The goal is not necessarily to sell the property immediately, but simply to uncover the truth of your financial architecture.
Just to know where you stand.
Exactly. You need to verify exactly how much wealth your property has built and understand what concrete opportunities that capital creates for your future.
You have to actually check the math to see what your silent partner has been up to all these years.
Well said.
And that leaves me with a final thought, something I want you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We talked about how, over the last decade, a static building out-earned the active daily labor of the people living inside it.
Yeah.
If the silent, leveraged accumulation of capital so thoroughly outpaces the active generation of wages, does our traditional cultural playbook for financial success, working harder, securing the next promotion, grinding out extra hours, need a fundamental rewrite?
That's something to think about.
If the most powerful wealth-building tool in the modern economy requires almost no active effort once the gears are in motion, perhaps the real secret to financial freedom isn't learning how to work harder, but learning how to effectively position yourself so that you don't have to.